Club Soda's Mindful Drinking Festival. We're online, global, and as always, absolutely free. Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm one of the co-founders of Club Soda.
And I'm Laura, the other co-founder of Club Soda. We help you change your drinking in ways that help you live well. So whether you're looking to cut down, stop for a bit, or quit, you can find what you need from podcasts and books and courses on joinclubsoda.com. This festival, we've brought you an amazing lineup from over 100 people from across the world.
And our programme this time really is global.
Every day starts down under with me, Sarah. As well as organising the festival in Australia, I spend my time looking for alcohol-free alternatives and tips for people who choose not to drink, but who still want to live a social, fun and adventurous life.
And I'll be wrapping up each day here in the States. I'm Amanda, your US festival host and coordinator, and I'm also a mindset coach who helps women change their relationship with alcohol so that they can start living their most authentic life.
Each day with a rolling programme of inspirational panels, conversations, social events, and opportunities to discover new low and low alcohol drinks.
So whether you want inspiration to change your drinking,
Or to connect with other people,
or you want to discover and enjoy a new low and no alcohol drink,
The Mindful Drinking Festival is for you.
cheers!
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 cheers.
Wow.
Hey.
Hi, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. Morning, evening, everybody. So I'm over in Leeds in the north of England. So it's 11 a.m. I'm just going to pour myself a little breakfast beer from Big Drop. What's the time over there, John?
It's just clocked over to 8 p.m, so it's a perfect time to crack a beer. Sydney time.
So I'm Anja. I work with Club Soda, so I do lots of our writing about drinks. I get to taste lots of wonderful things. And I also help to look after our guide, which is a really brilliant resource for finding drinks and places that serve them. And I've also worked in the beer industry for almost 13 years.
Wow.
But yeah, a growing interest in alcohol-free beer, which is really nice. John, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
I'll keep it short and quick. I'm, as you said, based down here in Sydney, Australia. It's 8 p.m. It's not sunny, or I can't really give you a nice view of the Harbour Bridge or anything because I'm nowhere near it. But yeah, long story short, I gave booze the flick. It was started off being like, maybe I'll do it for a year and see how we go. And just as I noticed the health benefits sort of ticking on, my indigestion, it was mainly the gut health that I instantly noticed. And my wife pointed it out sort of 3 months into it. I kind of mentally just checked it and gone, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing this. And yeah, I've been loving the NA beers, but from a personal side, I guess I'm in television, sports TV, working on the Premier League coverage in Australia. So sort of your part of the world. So that's been an interesting part of my life, I guess, this last year, because TV is quite a heavy drinking crowd, as I've sort of known for about 12 years. But yeah, so I've been winning people over at work recently. I've just been collating a lot of beer, free samples, and putting the credit card down, especially during lockdown. So I've been sneaking in 4-packs for mates at work just so they can get across. I'm not trying to convert anyone. I just want to know NA beer has come a long way.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, so we're going to be having a chat, aren't we, about beers that you can get in Australia at the moment. I mean, I've been to Australia once, and that was almost 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be honest, at the time, I wasn't really in the market for alcohol-free drinks, but I definitely am now. And I hear that it's been kind of difficult to get your hands on stuff, but that's improving now.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm only about a year and a bit into this, but sort of I remember when I was like, you know what, I'm going to just I found, I don't want to name too many websites or anything, but I found a website online that was UK based, and I just couldn't believe how much craft beer, NA craft beer there was. And I sort of touched base, and the shipping was going to cost me it was going to end up being like 400 Australian dollars for about 20 beers. So I pulled the pin on that and just hopped onto Google and just said non-alcoholic craft, dumbed it right down. And, I found Sobah, which have been described as the godfathers, or I call them on Instagram, the OG of NA craft in Australia. They've been holding it down for about 3 years now. So, and they've got a solid core range, and they're doing similar to what Big Drop do in the UK, bringing out new limited releases sort of every 6 months, just to sort of keep people on their toes, which is great. But outside of that, it's basically up until sort of about 3 or 4 months ago, which is imported macro stuff, swill from Holland, or just there's one called Hollandia. I don't know. That's the one that sort of was popping up in bars a lot, and but ever sort of since Carlton United breweries in Australia and Heineken Zero started releasing 0% beers, I just felt like the gas sort of hit the floor. And
I think it's often a sign for those smaller brands, isn't it? Once the macro brands get onto something, it's like, oh, this is definitely going to happen. So. Cool. Well, I wondered if we could start by chatting about Big Drop, just because I drink quite a lot of it.
I've got a couple of cans here, so I'm more than happy for it.
I think I got mine from Holland and Barrett yesterday, and it was quite funny. I went in and I was clearly looking a bit lost. They were like, "What are you looking for?" I was like, "Alcohol-free beer." And they were like, "Oh, we don't sell much of it." And then they led me to the darkest corner of the shop. And I was like, maybe this is why, because no one was here. But I just picked up a lager, which I thought would be a good place to start. I think this is some of the older branding as well. It looks like you've got some of the newer stuff.
Yeah, well, I was sort of quick side note. I luckily got the new one. They've just started brewing here in Australia. I think it even said, it's probably backwards. I don't know if it mirrors or not, but it says brewed in Australia. So I was talking to James, and they've just started brewing the Pine Trail Pale and the Uptown Craft here, which is pretty exciting, to have such a big brand like Big Drop sort of entering a market, which is not laughed at, but it's, it's kind of still non-alcoholic beer. That's still a big attitude in this country. So
I think that's gradually shifting here. They've definitely, and I like to think that a lot of that is down to all the work that Club Soda have done over the years, but there's definitely a shift in attitude now where it's more accepted that someone might be choosing not to drink, and you don't hear so much of that, or just have some water kind of stuff. I think people are finally realizing the desire for these products. I think what's interesting that Big Drop have done, and it sounds like you're saying Sober are heading in the same sort of direction, is that they have almost taken their lead from craft breweries in the UK and sort of released specials and seasonals. They did a really fantastic range of collaborations last year. And that was kind of, I think it was sort of curated by Melissa Cole, who's a very prominent beer writer here. And they worked with breweries that are already known for their full strength beers. And I think that actually did a lot for them to kind of bring people's attention to these products and sort of almost give a bit more validity to what's going on in alcohol-free beer.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, which one have you got there to drink?
I mean, I've just almost guzzled down the Pine Trail Pale Ale, which is definitely a big winner in my books. I'm really sort of pre-switching to NA. Obviously the craft boom has happened worldwide, but that was kind of what I loved, sort of just doing, sort of not getting on, but I was sort of switching my attention to happily going to a craft beer place or bar or brewery, and just getting a little taster paddle. And I've really sort of come across to these styles of beers, the big hoppy flavors that you get from a pale ale. And I mean, I can't wait to show this off. This sounds like an advert, but I've got a few of these I'm taking to work tomorrow, because I think a lot of people just expect like metallic-y fizzy water, which is what you get in a lot of sort of overly mass-produced NA. But I'm loving this one. I think I got sent a case, which is, I don't know if in English terms it's 24 beers, so I don't know how far that'll go.
I think generally we'd consider it either 24 or 12. But I think what's great as well is sort of seeing breweries come up with a full range. Like, years ago, you'd have just had an array of very similar lagers, and now we've got, I mean, I was looking at their full listing at the moment, and there's pales, lagers, IPA, they've got some sour things, stouts, even brown ales, which you don't see a lot of breweries doing anyway. So it's really exciting, I think, that when you're not drinking, you've got such a selection available.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's I think I even saw. I'll give a shout out to Robin out there, AF Beer Club. But I think he made an ice cream out of the hazelnut porter that Big Drop do. So that's given me some inspiration for a beer that's just dropped by Sobah. Actually, I think I might have to work something out.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I should have said at the beginning as well, if anyone watching has any questions, you can drop those in and we'll do our best to field those. I hope that we know the answers. I think that's a good point. And I think kind of cooking with alcohol-free beer as well. There's so much interesting stuff that you can do with these products. They're really versatile. Interestingly as well, I think all the breweries that we're talking about today, I'm pretty sure they all brew to strength. I don't think anyone is de-alcoholizing.
No, I definitely not. I'll put my foot down on that, and someone can call me out on it, but I'm 100% sure.
So, I mean, there's loads of interesting ways to make these products. And yeah, I guess they all kind of come with their different challenges and caveats. So I'll have some beer to deal with. So we see quite a lot of breweries in the UK de-alcoholizing. So that might be via, I suppose, at the more difficult end of things, you have, what's the word I need? Basically heating the beer so that you evaporate the alcohol, which can come with some problems flavor-wise, because when you heat it, you end up with some of those off flavors. You kind of damage the flavor of the beer. So a much better way of doing that is to do that with vacuum distillation. So you're doing that, but within a vacuum. So the temperature that you need to reach is lower than it would be. And so you're not involving as much heat to achieve the same result. And you tend to get much better flavor by doing that. But I do often find breweries like the ones we're talking about today that don't de-alcoholize at all achieve some really fantastic things with flavor. Maybe, because they're kind of aiming for that sort of end goal of what they want to achieve, and then there's nothing that needs to be done after that.
Definitely. No, I agree with that.
Do you have any favorite styles, Jon?
Ooh, styles. I feel like now all of a sudden I can't believe like how many pale ales and IPAs are sort of in there. It's almost like your benchmark beer in NA. If you, and same I guess with the craft beer world as well. You know, it always was up to that. You know, you needed a solid IPA or a craft to prove you're a serious contender. But you know. I'm just, surprised, even, watching afar, like it's outrageous the amount of styles you're seeing in the UK, especially Big Drop's collab release, like your black IPAs and that, I think there was a raspberry goza or.
There was,
limitless. But, I'll give the massive shout out to Sobah. They've been really pushing those boundaries as well. They've just, a personal favorite, which I'm really glad they've just re-released. And I love the branding of it is their gluten-free Davidson Plum Ale, which is more like a sort of sour style beer, and which I feel is almost one of the harder styles to get right in the NA world, because sometimes I tried a few and I just felt like they were teetering on the line of just being a fizzy drink.
Definitely. I think it's quite hard to get them right, and I'm not sure exactly why, because you find a lot of sour. A lot of sours that we produce in the UK tend to be kind of kettle sours, and they tend to be quite a low ABV. So you would think that it kind of, the profile of that suits the lower end, but it is interesting. I think as well a lot of that is a textural thing as well. I always find like a good kind of kettle sour reminds me of like a yogurt. That yogurty character to it, and that comes with a certain creamy texture as well. So Yeah. Yeah, do you want to tell me a bit more about Sobah? Because obviously I haven't had any.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. If I knew, I would have tried to ship you across. They've made the journey a couple of times. I've done a few beer swaps to some people, and if anyone's interested, I'm more than happy to do some more. So you can hit me up on that little hashtag. I think it's there. And on Instagram, happily do some swaps. But I think I'm going to pour on you. This will be a live taste. So hopefully Clinton and Lozen, I think it'll be a genuine reaction, because it is. I just got their aniseed myrtle stout in the mail today. This is their limited release. So I hold it up there a bit longer, show off the can art a bit more. So Sobah, as I said earlier, I've started brewing in 2017. It started out of a food truck, funny enough. It was more they were cooking, just cracking that food, and the beer was sort of the side project, and then it became the main thing. People were bringing, Clinton was saying last week that people brought growlers, and they were demanding, how can I get this, takeaway? And anyway, it's sort of come to this now. I think there's been 6 styles of beers they've brewed, but I think what makes them unique is they're an Indigenous based owned company, husband and wife duo who just make. I think the most unique NA in the world. I'll say it. I'll go out there and say it, because they use native and bush flavors, or bush tucker as it's called out here, and just to really enhance those flavors. You've got pepperberry in your IPA, using finger limes in a Mexican style cerveza, and now I've got this which I'm about to have a sip of, so excuse me, aniseed myrtle stout, and they're claiming it's rich, warming, and licoricey. So I'm very keen on that, because my favourite sweet actually is licorice. So we'll give this one.
I love licorice. I love is it Bassett's All Sorts? I love those.
Oh man, you really get that sort of aniseed, like a licorice, or the really genuine licorice that sort of hits the roof of your mouth, that aniseed flavour. It goes all the way down your throat. This is really good. Nice and creamy, really dark. So yeah,
that's got a good head on it as well.
Was that sorry? Yeah, I'm a pretty rough pourer, as you can see. Almost treat them like a nitro. But yeah, the guys, I mean, they live the life. They've been NA for a while. Clinton, I think he said, was 6 years. So they really live it, and incorporate their lifestyle and their culture and history into everything they do, from the can art to all the local charities and community groups that they support. It's just a really well-rounded company, and they're just smashing out some crazy beers, as I said, like Davidson plum sours, and there's a lemon aspen pilsner, and there's been a ginger lager, which was sort of up my alley as well, being a fan of the ginger beer. So yeah, they sort of, as I said earlier, set the standards pretty high. And it's only 3 years old, but a lot of people, when they think of NA, always think of Sobah straight away. So they've done an amazing job to get that far.
I think it's always interesting to see what people who are passionate about food will come up with when they approach drinks, because I think the angle is always slightly different, and you end up with some very kind of confident and unusual combinations. I was looking at the website, it made me very thirsty. It all sounded very tasty, but I think it's there's a lot that kind of goes on here as well in sort of in the beer scene, where I think people really kind of warm to companies that have a real identity and that kind of stand for something. And I think they convey that message really well, sort of where they come from and the communities they're representing. I think they do that really beautifully. And even with the can art, I think the can art is all like Aboriginal art.
Yeah, well, I'll do that. I'm even wearing the gear they've sent me. Like, everything is from the ground up. Is all theirs, and everyone involved. It's just an amazing sort of way of doing things. And as I said, I think Clinton says it all the time. They live it. It's not like they've just sort of come in and found a market and they're trying to exploit NA. You know what I mean? Just make NA beer and make money off of it. They live that lifestyle, the sober lifestyle. And they're kicking goals, serious goals over here. Because I had a lot of people bugging me about doing beer swaps. So I'm fully loaded if anyone wants to.
I mean, I didn't know this was an option until now, and I'm absolutely going to hit you up for that. There's just a couple of comments saying that really like the sound of Sobah and the ingredients. Also a question, are you in Australia? I think it's quite clear that I am not. I'm in Leeds, and John, you are in Sydney.
I am in Sydney, yep.
Cool. So which would you like to open next?
Oh, geez, I'm savouring that. Now, I actually, while I'm finish that one off, I actually don't have a can of this because it's Heaps Normal. So these boys have just come into the scene, even backed by professional surfer, Geordie, I've forgotten his name. Geordie Smith, I think that is. I haven't followed the surfing in a long time, but Andy Miller and these guys were part of probably I'll call one of the bigger craft brewers in Australia that really got that movement going of young Henrys, and a few of them have not gotten on, but hitting mid-30s like a lot of us, and sort of started evaluating, their drinking habits, or and I guess this is how this came up, the name and the branding's also, oops, I'm trying to find my camera, of Heaps Normal. They're trying to normalize the perception of, moderation, or, not drinking, or just, having a break. And I think, they've made an XPA, which I found out when I posted, isn't really a style sort of known outside of Australia or New Zealand as much. I guess I don't know much of the brewing techniques, but if we're going to talk taste, it kind of sits between like the IPA and like, I guess the X stands for extra pale. So, it's really, really fruity and soft, but that nice little bitter aftertaste. And I think that style was made more famous here by a brewery up in the Gold Coast run by Mick Fay, another surfer. But, they're about to drop their first run in a couple of weeks, or at the end of this week, and it's really exciting, I think, because the beer's great, the guys behind, they know beer, and they're really, I don't know, I just think it'll look really good. Their can design, just there's something about it. It's appealing to, I think, a crowd like that younger sort of mid-20, early 30 crowd. Not that there's anything wrong with not drinking, but I think it just, they're just going for that angle of like, you can have an NA and it can look good while you're doing it and taste good as well.
Well, I think there's definitely a lot to be said for kind of the social pressure that comes with not drinking. And if you can have a product in hand that looks the part and, has cool branding on it, then I think that actually goes a long way to helping people make that choice. Yeah,
I think that's a big issue with NA, especially here. I mean, it's watching from afar, it's sort of taken off in the UK and it's quite acceptable. I'll read stories of people saying, they went into a bar and the bar staff apologised because all they had was Beck's Blue or Heineken Zero or something like that. And I sort of always comment, I'm like, I wish someone had even, I'd happily have a bar staff say, I've only got this or I've only got that. But I guess part of that, I think here is image. People, always like, well, what's the point? We've heard this story a million times, what's the point? And blah, blah, blah. And, even if people are moderating, people still enjoy the taste of beer. And, it's this funny level here in Australia where you don't want to be seen drinking it. The days of old, some of the old branded stuff or the mass produced stuff being imported just sort of looks cheap, tastes cheap kind of thing. So it's just got that perception. People have predetermined that an NA beer can't be tasty or flavour, have a lot of flavour or a full body or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's quite difficult to sort of overcome some of those barriers. So did you say, sorry, have they launched properly yet?
Yeah, just about to. So they sent out a few batch runs for people to try and sort of build a bit of momentum, and they're about, I think they're trying to sneak in through dry July. I think they've only got a day to go, but I think their plan was to get out on the 31st, but they're their first run of the full branded stuff is sold out. So, and that's to punters and, you know, pubs and clubs. So, you know,
promising.
They've got a movement behind them, and with their sort of, you know, craft brewing experience behind them, you know, at Young Henry's and other places like that, I think they're well across it.
We've just got someone saying that they're also in Australia and they feel like people think, what's the point if there's no alcohol? Yeah, it is a problem. I think, excuse me, the more and more brands you see, and like the ones we're looking at today, are so good. I think actually once that conversation kind of starts rolling, sorry, gosh, yeah, you can make some pretty quick progress on changing those perceptions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hold a couple up, you know, with Upflow, Sobah, Big Drop. I mean, they don't, you know, when people think of NA beers, they don't think of, you know, modern, bold branding. They just think, you know, maybe white can or brown bottle with a blue label on it kind of thing, and the taste matches it. So, you know, I do think image is a big part of it as well, you know, especially here. If it looks good, you know, people, I mean, I'm a sucker as well. You know, if something looks good, I'll probably flock to it. It could taste rubbish, or you know what I mean? But yeah.
Oh, definitely. What was that Upflow that you held up then?
I just grabbed. I've got literally a bag full of booze. I couldn't decide what to. Alcohol-free beers. It's their session IPA in this one. I'll crack it open. It's a bit hard with the reflection. Sorry.
That's okay.
You spoke earlier before that you tried these beers a while ago. That's correct?
I tried. Gosh, I'm trying to remember which one it is. I think they had a bit of a time. They came over to do one of our festivals, and Customs held all their beer.
Oh, I remember reading this. Yeah,
we had like a little box of beer, and I felt awful for them because they'd come all this way to bring this wonderful beer. But we did some little tastings with them with some small groups at the festival, and it went down really well. It was the one with the blue label. I think it's a pale.
I think so, because I was jealously watching from afar, knowing that it was brewed in Melbourne, but it was getting all shipped to the UK. I mean, the market there, you know, on fire. But yeah, I'm probably known as a bit of a pest for the NA brewers here in Australia, because I see a new page pop up and I just, you know, when are you doing? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And,
I think that's really great, though. You need people to be really active in demanding.
I mean, like, so it's more of a, I think you've got it's branded a bit differently. There's a pale and then like the malt tide or something. I think that's what it's called over there. But here, they've released a core of 4 beers. So they've come out swinging properly here in Australia. You know, they're just diving straight in, you know, not sort of leaking out 1 or 2 at a time. But yeah, there's an IPA, a pale, the stout, and a wheat beer. So, you know, they've sort of they've spread their wings quite far there. And I mean, they're all really good beers as well. So, you know,
nice. I always think beer is,
oh, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I was going to say, they said that I think the stout and the wheat are exclusive to Australia for a while, which is nice to know. So again, beer swappers, I've got some ammunition if you want. I from what I can see, we've only got the I can't remember what's called. Is it the malt wave? Or I think malt wave, and there's I think it's just a pale ale as well. But
yeah, those are the 2 that are available here. But I'd be really interested to try the wheat beer, because I usually find they tend to carry it really well. So they tend to have a better texture and body to them.
Yeah, I found that when I first sort of come across to it, a lot of German beers are available here, which is surprising. And I found have pretty been, you know, on level. You know, I don't think I've had a bad NA wheat beer, and even though it wasn't really a style of choice when I was drinking, I just felt like it, whether it's German brewing techniques or what, it just sort of worked. I don't know, I've never had a bad one. It just, that style just, I don't know the brewing techniques, and I'm probably sounding like a fool, but it just,
no, not at all.
Yeah,
I think yeast has a lot to Oh gosh, it's too early for me. I've only had one coffee. Yeast has a lot to offer, I think, in building all that wonderful texture. You tend to find with the wheat beers as well, you usually get a better head retention.
Yeah.
And all of that just kind of adds together to make it feel like more of a kind of authentic beer experience, I think.
Definitely. There we are, Matt. He's guilt-free pints. That's Matt. I think I gave you a name check earlier. He said it's a toasted malty tide. That's the one over there. So I don't know. I don't think this is this one, which is the session IPA in the green can. Okay.
You've got a few people dropping in to say hello. I'm not going to say who they are, but you've got your fan base. Yeah.
As I said, I've had a hair. I don't know if some people have seen it, but my hair was under my shoulders about a week ago, so I've had a full costume change.
All in preparation for
here we go. Andy from Heaps Normal has popped in. He said, "Cheers, John. The Heaps Normal cases are on their way in stores from tomorrow." So there we go, and me. So that's great. The wife will be thrilled that I put another case of beer in the storage.
The garage. We've got someone saying they weren't keen on wheat beers when they were drinking. My question back is, do you like the alcohol-free one? Out of interest, I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll back Ali there. I wasn't really. It wasn't a style I favoured, and I was more frequently craft breweries by the end of my drinking days, I'll say, and I guess that wasn't really a style you were seeing at craft breweries as well. It was more sort of your German beer halls or all that. So yeah, but I don't know. It was more readily available here. Big stores like Aldi and that were sort of importing it for like Father's Day or Oktoberfest, and it was just, I don't know, in small bottle before we started getting like the waves of Sobah and Upflow and UK imports. All you could really find hidden in the back corners of bottle shops were just German wheat beers, non-alcoholic wheat beers. So it was sort of, when I was going to a barbecue, it was like, well, there we go. I'll take two of these and we'll go for it.
Yeah. One thing that I forgot to mention about Upflow is just their background is quite interesting. So before brewing alcohol-free beer, they were actually, their founder, I think, was in the business of building breweries.
Yes, I think they're called Spark. I won't name check.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think it was Julian. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I just think it's quite interesting that kind of made that leap from building breweries that produce full strength beer to then thinking, actually, let's explore the even more mysterious world of brewing alcohol free. That's quite a cool leap to make.
Yeah, they've it seems like a big jump, or a big risk. I don't know much about brewing. My father-in-law makes a good homebrew stout, but I was like, oh, maybe we should give this a go, just for a bit of fun. And then it just seems overly complicated, and it's pretty cutthroat. As I said, that whole judgment of people already go in as drinkers or whatever you do as negative attitudes, like this is going to be bad. I'm not going to like it. What's the point? And then they taste it, and if it is bad, then you've almost lost them for life, kind of thing. So I was like, we'll be clear of that because it sounds way too hard.
Oh dear. Are there? We've got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to chat about in terms of?
Geez, I don't know. Well, I've been, as I said, stuff's accelerated here so quickly, and hopefully sort of attitudes will as well. There was, I'll give a shout out to a website, Craft Zero. That team have been importing so much European stuff. We got, what do we got? They originally were bringing in, the old branding of Big Drop, stuff like, I'm like Santa with his sack, Lucky Saint and all that stuff. So
Lucky Saint's a good one.
Yeah, it's a proper lager. I absolutely love it. It's probably high up on my list of favourite NAs. But, with stuff like that, websites, there's one based in the Central Coast, which some people consider part of Sydney, has been around for a while, sort of selling non-alcoholic beers. It's, as I said, within that sort of 6 months, it's just sort of boomed. You've gone from maybe 3 or 4 craft choices and a dozen macro to just, it feels like limitless. It's at the moment, I think a couple of guys were messaging me tonight, just saying another mass producer called Tinny in Australia have just released an under 5, and we're sort of seeing weird things like Corona Zero pop up and Peroni Zero, like at places like Dan Murphy's and all that. It's slowly making its way here, and hopefully, I mean, what I'd love to see, I guess competition is great, is what you see in the UK at the moment is, well-established craft brewers having a punt at adding a non-alcoholic into their core range, or even if it's just a limited release, it's pretty crazy to think that, there's a few of them that have not 1 but 2 or 3 NAs in their collection as a full-strength brewery.
Yeah, for sure. We've just got someone asking if any of these beers are in the States. Also, Heaps Normal are hoping to export to the States next year. I should probably know about Big Drop, but I don't. I'm not 100% sure.
I think, I've been, as I said, I'm a pest on Instagram. I think there was a Big Drop North America page, so I'm going to assume we're probably going to have a crack at it. So
nice.
Yeah.
I was going to say something and then I forgot what it was. It can't be that interesting.
No.
Oh yeah, just in terms of kind of already popular craft breweries starting to release low ABV things. I think we've seen a bit more of that here in maybe sort of the last year or two.
Yeah.
And I think it does really help, because I think customers who drink a lot of beer and don't necessarily see the value in alcohol-free, when a brand that they already know and trust says, "Oh, look, we made a thing, try it."
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a nice little gateway if something that you are already familiar with and already enjoy presents that option. So I think, it's a really important part of it as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm not here trying to convert anyone, or it's just more of like a why not give it a go kind of thing. It's I mean, that's sort of where I'd like to see it eventually, is where I think pubs in Australia are legally required to have a low alcohol, a light beer. It's named all different over the world, which is sort of under your 2.5% mark. You have to have that offering. So maybe we'll slowly start seeing more pubs taking a punt with, which would be great to see them supporting local craft NA brewers as well, not just taking on board a macro one because, Carlton United lean on them and say, you take our non-alcoholic, or, there's plenty of, pubs in the inner west of Sydney, I know, just through following, pages like Upflow and Sobah and Heaps Normal that, already have a decent offering of NAs, places like the Petersham Bowling Club and all that, have stocked a core range of Sobah and a couple of, it's a lot of Portuguese people in that suburb, so there's a couple of Portuguese NAs in their bar as well. So it's sort of, and it's an area where a lot of young families and hang out. So your odds of getting a few people having an NA beer are probably a lot higher in that area of Sydney. So
you need to go to those pubs.
Yeah.
What about draft? Do you see any draft alcohol-free beer there yet?
No, that's that's one thing I'm very envious, extremely envious of. Andy seems to be floating around there in the comments. We've spoken to him before about maybe would they do it, and he's teased it's a possibility that it could be something down the track. And I was bugging Clinton and Lozen at Sobah. I was like, well, you started off pouring. Like, is there, what's the future hold? We maybe start pouring them off draft again, but that's another extreme cost, and they're doing so well with just canning it. I don't think they'd bother for that right now. But who knows? If the market opens up, there'll be a rush for draft NA. Hopefully. I
think it's a bit of a. I think for breweries, that's quite a tough sell to venues. But we are gradually seeing that's becoming a little bit more common here. Which I have to say is really nice. My partner doesn't drink, and I kind of take quite regular breaks from drinking. and there's a pub about 5 minutes walk from my flat.
Yeah.
And like every now and again we just wander down, well, not at the moment, but we would just wander down and have a pint of something alcohol free. And just that experience of having that drink poured for you, and for it to be in that serve as well was really
there's a different feeling to it. I guess it's that whole ritual thing, you know, going up and getting it poured, and I don't know, it is different, you know, and I'd love to see it. So
yeah, for sure.
We'll see.
Cool. Well, I think, do you reckon we're done?
Yeah, maybe. Here we go. Andy from his not Upflow, excuse me, Heaps Normal. Andy said where we were launching with kegs until the virus dropped. There's too much uncertainty on premise right now, which is
that's completely fair. In fact, that's a really interesting point.
We're probably going to get wrapped soon, but I remember reading, and Andy sent me this article about Athletic Brewing Company in the States to sort of get their draft out there and in public. They went to smaller independent craft breweries and offered them their beer, one of their beers on draft as hey, it's too hard for you to produce. Why don't you put ours on? And, you know, there's your offering. And it kind of sort of, I'm really dumbing this down and shortening it, but, you know, it kind of built from there, like their whole, you know, their cult following they've got in the States. Like it's massive. And, you know, I guess there might be room for something like that style for breweries to try and, you know, get in with other breweries or, you know, collab or who knows.
For sure. I think Andy makes a really good point there about the uncertainty in venues at the moment. So yeah, I suppose that kind of poses a new level of challenge with getting these products out there. But I also think a lot of people are probably going to be thinking maybe in a slightly more health conscious way about their habits and lifestyles, and we might see a little leaning of people because of everything that's gone on this year. So who knows? But
fingers crossed.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. As
lovely
I said,
to share a breakfast beer.
It's just all, you know, people looking or wanting to give stuff, you know, just moderate or whatever. Like the scene here in Australia is, I feel like I've said it before and I'm repeating myself, but it's getting almost out of control, I feel, compared to what it was, you know, 12, 13 months ago. You know, there's so much choice, both craft or if you just want a big, you know, macro lager style beer, you know, you can pretty much find them anywhere. But yeah, you know, thanks to the work of like Sobah, Upflow and Heaps Normal, we're sort of slowly catching up with you guys in the UK and Europe. So soon enough, I'm hoping people, well, they already are, but are sort of banging on my door asking for more beer swaps because it's a pretty exciting world out here.
Nice. Cool. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Awesome. You too. Morning. Maybe get a coffee, or if you're going to keep it going, a coffee stout to sort of keep the theme going.
I have got a stout in the fridge. I might just continue. Cool. Well, hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the comments, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.